I Hate Politics is a podcast about a human activity we love to hate. I'm Sunil Dasgupta. Housing is usually sold as a highly individual choice. Think dream house. But while most homes are assembled in location, they are in reality a part of a mass market. The idea of comparables for pricing out your dream house should be clue enough that potentially you have many dream homes. And your choice of a home is what makes it special. Your dream. In this vast market, there are choices to buy or rent. There's your choice of location, and that is usually tied to your choice with respect to the type of home. Single family, townhouse, an apartment. For this week's episode, I speak with members of two families who recently decided to alter their housing choices. Paul Meyer and his family, wife and one child, are moving from an apartment in downtown Silver Spring to a townhouse in Kentlands in Gaithersburg. For those of you who don't know Kentlands, it is one of the country's first mixed-use developments, and its downtown area is designed as a main street in a small town from before World War II. Elena Pett and her husband made a more surprising move. Having moved to the suburban town of College Park in Prince George's County during the pandemic, they decided to move back to the city, to Washington, D.C., and to a rental apartment. Why did they do it? What are the economics of these moves? Stay with us. I Hate Politics is a podcast about our neighborhoods, workplaces, schools and streets, and our local governments as they function in diverse and democratic societies. This means our politics are messy, dirty, sometimes corrupt, with often self-serving politicians. But no matter how much we hate politics, we are never exempt from it, even when we refuse to participate. In fact, the purpose of politics is to keep society moving precisely when we don't agree with each other, like now. Music for this episode comes from Jackie and the Treehorns, an Alexandria, Virginia-based alt-rock band. Steve Rubin and Pam Long on vocals, guitars, and piano. Frank Caputo on bass, and Brian Gibson on the drums. Their latest album, Go Get Your Ghosts, was released in 2023 and is available on their website, JackieandTheTreehorns.com.
And I like what I see. There's a good chance I won't be coming back. The mermaids are all that's left for me.
In the news this week, the Montgomery County Council decided to recognize teachers with a proclamation during Teacher Appreciation Week. And the Montgomery County Education Association, the teachers union, decided to press their case for fully funding the school district's budget request. That's the voice of Council Member Will Joando.
Thank you, guys. We really appreciate it. We're going to read the proclamation, and I'm going to let Council Friedman start it off. Whereas Teacher Appreciation Day provides a special opportunity to highlight the importance of our educators, including almost 14,000 active teachers in Montgomery County Public Schools and over 2,000 at Montgomery College in their essential function in our society. And
Folks. You got the mic.
All right, so hold on. If anyone's earned your respect, I know I have over the years. Okay, I'm going to give you the mic with the count for to say it can be a minute. No, just I understand. We're being respectful, and we let Jennifer talk through your whole remarks. Okay, we understand where you're coming from. We'd ask that you just give us the same respect so we can continue our business here. So I'm going to give you the mic with the Council President's permission for a minute, and then we are going to take it back and read the proclamation and move on so we can address the rest of the budget. Okay? Do we agree? Thank you.
I'm Becca Rothstein. I've been a math teacher in MCPS for 9 years, and I'm a former MCPS student. I've wanted to be a teacher my entire life. Council members, you are tasked with making important decisions about things you're not necessarily experts in, like how dilapidated are our school buildings.
After Rebecca Rothstein finished, Council member Will Joando came back again to try to read the proclamation.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to read the proclamation now. Whereas teachers are highly skilled professionals who interface with every member of society. Jennifer, I just let you speak. For society of its improvement. Through certification, higher education, and continuing professional development.
Then end it.
All right. Proclamation's over. Thank you.
I think the council, we're going to stop the proclamation.
You've ended your proclamation.
We're going to end the proclamation. I'm going to turn it back to the council president.
The proclamation is officially over. Thank. So to our teachers, we are here today. This proclamation was because we want to recognize and honor you. That is why Council Vice President and the entire Education and Culture Committee has invited you all here for this proclamation. The budget earlier today, we approved an increase in our recordation tax that provides more money. There we go. We welcome you back on Friday when the MCPS budget is fully taken up.
Fund the schools for future years. We see through your sham veneer. Fund the schools for future years.
We're in recess.
That's Council President Evan Glass calling recess. It is worth noting that the full budget package here includes County Executive Mark Elrich's proposal to include a 10% property tax increase. The Council, even those on the progressive left and considered to be Elrich allies, have expressed dissatisfaction with the way the budget has been forwarded that ties pay increases to the tax hike. The Council would prefer to separate the two. Most Council members might vote for the school budget increase, if only to fund the new contract the school district has concluded with the teachers' union. But they are not in a mood to approve Elrich's tax increase, especially with numbers showing weak business growth and a general sense of malaise pervading the county. In other news, the Montgomery County Democratic Party, also known as the Montgomery County Democratic Central Committee, has been in many months of controversy over how it makes vacancy appointments. County Central Committees of political parties are required by state law to nominate a replacement for a retiring member of their county's delegation to the state Senate and the House of Delegates. This set up a pipeline where typically many of those who are interested in becoming state delegates in particular worked to get themselves elected to the Central Committee and built relationships with others on the committee. And when a vacancy opened up, they had the votes to move on from the Central Committee to the state legislature. This is the system in Maryland. Both parties do it, and it has been done for a long time. There's also been criticism of the process as anti-democratic. At I Hate Politics, we did an interview with Delegate David Moon of District 20 in Montgomery, who has long been a proponent of special elections to fill vacancy appointment, rather than seemingly closed-door process managed by 26 elected Central Committee members. Since 2022, newly elected Central Committee member Lisa Smith has been pounding on the issue. First, she proposed that MCDCC members should not be allowed to apply for delegate vacancies, which of course found little traction. The proposal was stuck in the Rules Committee of MCDCC, and Lisa Smith has claimed that bringing the issue to a vote would clear up the matter. Finally, MCDCC voted on a smaller proposal on May 9th, which would require that members recuse themselves from voting when they apply for vacancy positions themselves. They would still be able to run for positions, just not self-vote. But even this version was voted down, 12 to 11, with 2 members abstaining. What is surprising about the vote is how close it was, given that the ask here is for MCDCC members to vote against their own interests, and the status quo position was publicly supported by the Maryland Democratic Party. I'll be back with Paul Meyer, who is moving from Silver Spring to Kenlens with his family. You're listening to I Hate Politics. I am Sunil Dasgupta.
Exposing what's underneath. Do you have something to hide? Or is it just your foolish under lock and key?
Paul Meyer, welcome back to I Hate Politics.
Hey, Sunil.
So I hear that you are moving from your beloved downtown Silver Spring to Gaithersburg.
That's true. It's true.
What happened?
Silver Spring will always be an important part of our lives. We lived here for 9 years and almost 4 years with our son. But enough things happened that we realized it was probably time to move on.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty, can you describe yourself demographically? Income, age?
Yeah. I am 36. And my wife and I have a 4-year-old. Oh, he's almost 4. Our son's almost 4. We both have good full-time jobs.
How do you describe yourself race-wise?
I'm Caucasian.
And what about your wife?
Same.
Okay. Did you at any point consider yourself rent burdened or housing burdened?
No, that wasn't the reason we moved. With a child, we're not going out as much anymore. A lot of our favorite restaurants have closed, unfortunately, here in our neighborhood, and we're not commuting anymore. We both work from home full time, so there was no need for us to live near the metro. It was getting more and more difficult for us personally to give our son the childhood that we wanted him to have in our neighborhood in Silver Spring. It's entirely multi-family buildings. It's really tough to see other children, especially. So the thing about Newell Street is when we had that spot, it was the only place that our son could just organically meet other kids. The county just kind of abruptly took it away and gave it back to cars. It got us thinking because we were like, that was literally the only place where our son could meet other children from our neighborhood.
Okay.
And that was the start of the process.
How big is your condo?
It's 2-bed, 2-bath.
So what is the square footage?
1214.
Do you recall how much you paid for it?
410.
410,000.
Yeah.
Do you mind my asking what your mortgage was at that mortgage payment was monthly?
I'm gonna say so. When we refinanced, it like went down because we went from like 5 to 2.9. So, yeah, like the mortgage and everything was something like, I'm gonna say $2,400, $2,300.
What did you end up buying in Gaithersburg?
It's a townhouse.
It's a townhouse.
Yes.
How big is it?
It's like three beds. Yeah, 3 beds, 3.5 baths.
Nice.
It's one of the smaller townhouses in the Kentlands. But it's way bigger than what we live in now. So we really like it.
Do you mind my asking how much you paid for it?
It's fine. We paid $650.
$650.
Yeah.
And a high interest rate right now, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that we were kind of like at the point where like we need to move.
What is going to be your new house?
With everything that comes into it, it's going to be like $3,200. It's almost double, you know?
$3,200 is a lot of money. Do you think that's housing burden for you now, or still you're okay?
No, it's housing burden. We're kind of like, we're going to kind of tread water until both we can refinance and he gets out of school.
Did you own a car when you lived in Silver Spring?
No. So we bought one in February, which is around time. We like.
Oh, that's another payment, huh?
It's another payment. Yeah.
How do you feel about having to give up your car-free lifestyle?
I'm okay with it because once we're in the Kentlands, we're really not going to have to drive much for stuff because everything is walkable. We're not commuting anymore. The one thing that we're going to have to do is for a while drive him to his new school. Pre-K is going to be in Gaithersburg. So his school in Silver Spring has a sister school in Gaithersburg, and we got him in there.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
And that's the other thing. We got him into that school in Gaithersburg before we had a house. So we were like, okay, now we really have to move. Like,
wow. I mean, you are that confident that you're going to move?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have family close by?
My, not really close by, but they come to visit frequently. And it was important to have more space for family to be able to stay over.
So did you say how much more space you have now? You said 1,200 at your in the condo, but now is this like
2,100?
21.
Basically, it's an extra bedroom and living room space. It's like a walkout basement. That's,
What are the Kentland restaurants you have on your list right now?
We were there tonight. We went to Vasily's, which is like a Greek place there. Kanaki, the Japanese restaurant. It's really like one of the top 3 Japanese restaurants in the DC area.
So sushi, ramen?
Sushi.
Were you and your wife on the same page when you made these decisions, or was there some kind of negotiation?
We were initially on the same page. So it took us, I'd say took us about a week to get on the same page.
Oh, okay. That's
I
not
think,
much.
no, it's not at all. She came to the decision that she wanted to move like about a week before I did. And then after that, after we got on the same page, it took us another like week to figure out where we want to move.
What interest rates did you get? Do you remember?
6.99.
Holy.
We're fortunate to get below 7. Yeah, we're going to make it work.
Okay.
And the other thing, the way that we looked at it is like the house we are moving into is like our dream house, but it was also actually definitely the least expensive townhouse we were going to get in the Kentlands, Lakelands.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm a little bit surprised because nothing is below 700 as far as I can tell.
So we were shocked. Yeah.
Do you need to put in money to fix it up?
Not really. It's in great condition.
The companion interview to this is an interview with Elena Pitt, who moved from College Park and a suburban location, and she moved to Brookland in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
It seems like she urbanized and you kind of de-urbanized a little bit, not by much, but you suburbanized a little bit. So what lessons do you think you can draw from your move?
Well, now that we weren't commuting, it wasn't necessary for us to live walking distance to the metro.
Okay, that's a big one.
Yeah. And we were able to find a bigger house, but still in a very walkable area. So it wasn't, it's not a decision that we took lightly, leaving like a walkable urban area, but we just found one like further out.
When are you actually moving?
No later than like early June.
Early June. And you haven't sold your old condo yet, right?
Correct. Should be soon.
Should be soon.
Everything's going immediately, so any day now.
Is the market that hot? I mean, everything is just flying off the
There's very little inventory in terms of 2-bedroom condos in downtown Silver Spring.
Well, good luck. That's a big process.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Paul Meyer, thanks for sharing your story and wishing you good luck in your new home.
Oh, thanks. Hopefully I'll see you around.
Absolutely. That was Paul Meyer, who is moving with his family from Silver Spring to Kentlands. I'll be back with Elena Pitt, who gave up owning a home altogether.
Get to check your sins at the door coming in, and whatever hand you dealt, you always win.
Elena Pitt, welcome to I Hate Politics.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you today.
So, most young couples move from the city to the suburbs. You did that, and you undid that, and you moved back to the city.
Yes, that's correct.
What are the triggers here?
We did what a lot of other young couples did during the pandemic, which we were living in a small apartment and we're feeling claustrophobic, and interest rates were great. And we were like, well, we were planning on buying a house, so let's just do it now. And that took several months to accomplish. But one of our requirements was actually to be near a metro stop, which we were able to find a house where we're a 10-minute walk. The house is in the Hollywood neighborhood of College Park. And we just partially thought that that's just what we were supposed to do, but it was also a cost thing, right? DC is really expensive. And if we could have afforded a row house here, we might have, gone that route instead. But we were looking for something affordable that we could still access the city without having to drive. So College Park ticked all those boxes. It's also a college town, and we like the vibe of Route 1. So it felt like a really good fit for us. And it's also a bit of that, this is what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to want the house with the yard, and um, you know, that's kind of the American dream that you're supposed to want. So we moved out there just a little over 2 years ago, and we actually really loved our house. But we soon realized that, especially for me, I worked from home and I was feeling very isolated. We sold our car. We had just bought like an EV. We bought a Chevy Bolt, which great car, by the way, if you need one. We bought a Chevy Bolt, and then a year later we sold the car and bought two e-bikes, and we're like, this is how we're gonna get around. I hate driving personally. I've never liked it. I didn't really care to get my license when I was a teenager. I was content with other people driving me around, not because like lazy or anything. It's very stressful. I find it very stressful and not enjoyable at all. And it was funny seeing how that ended up being like a common thread. Like looking back now, I see that as a common thread in my life, like constantly trying to live places where I didn't have to drive. And then realizing that I consciously moved to a place where I would have to drive if I wanted to do more than just be in my immediate neighborhood. I was used to be able to walk to restaurants and do all sorts of things within an immediate distance, and felt pretty cut off in the northern part of College Park, mainly because of University Boulevard and Greenbelt Road. It's very hard to bike across. The rest of College Park, at least along Route 1, is very bikeable because of the trolley trail. But I think it kind of came to a head at the end of last year where I found myself, I was like, I feel like I'm just like a DC resident in exile. I'm following their politics there. I'm spending most of my time there. And I really just missed it now that everything is opened back up again and, back to some sort of normal. I realized how much I missed the city.
I want you to paint a demographic picture of yourself, your family. Who are you?
Sure. So let's see. I'm 32 years old. I moved to DC about 6 years ago. I am originally from New Hampshire. Grew up in a very predominantly, 98% white community, white myself. Have lived all over the country. My husband was in the military.
Where are you in the income bracket?
I would say we make about $200,000 a year.
Okay. So it's 1 year into the pandemic and you are, everything's closed, and you're saying to yourself, we need more space, or we need to try something new, get out of the city. And you had certain ideas about what College Park was.
So I'd actually taken some graduate classes at UMD and really liked the vibe of College Park. Again, loved that it was that it is a college town, and that it was still on the green and used to be yellow line. So it just felt like a good fit for us. Like Hyattsville is pretty funky. We were originally looking at Hyattsville, and I think like a lot of people, we kept getting pushed further and further out. Like the prices just kept going up and up, and we kept getting outbid on everything. And we had a pretty like firm line in the sand about how much we wanted to spend on a house.
How much was it?
We didn't want to spend more than $400,000.
You were in the northern part of College Park, right? And where University Boulevard is and Greenbelt Road is, and that was difficult for example, bike access. What if you had spent a little bit more money and bought further south? Would you have been better served that way?
That's a good question. We wouldn't have been as close to the metro, which would have been problematic. My husband works, he needs to go into the office, and it would have been difficult for him to get in. And we felt like the Hollywood neighborhood was actually like a really good mix of, we're near the metro, so we can still go into the city, but we could also walk to a Mom's Organic, a coffee shop, a little like pizza joint, and some other things. So we thought initially like, oh, this is fine. We were still in the mindset of like, oh, but we'll just like drive to do things, right? And then again, we started watching things and being like, we don't want to drive anymore. We don't, or at least we don't want to own a car anymore. Obviously there's times when you need to drive. We're like, we don't want to be putting this money into this car. We're never using it. So we sold it. And then you realize just how difficult it is to get around.
When
in
did
that
you
area.
buy the car? You said you bought the Chevy
Mhm.
Volt. When did you
Mhm.
buy it? When did you sell it?
We bought it in July of 2021 and we sold it in June of 2022.
And you sold it because you thought that after a year, you thought that you didn't need it.
Yeah, because we were barely using it. It was sitting in our
Okay.
driveway like 99% of the time. And we also were feeling like, hey, we can like replace it with e-bikes, right? Like we can use our e-bikes to get around instead. Like we don't live very far from, as the crow flies, from like a Home Depot and a full service grocery store. We live very close to IKEA, which is very important.
It is very important.
We live near a lot
Especially
of
the soft
things.
serve. I agree.
Yes. Oh, soft serve is very good. We live near a lot of things. Like there's tons of stuff going on Route 1,
Yeah.
but then we realize just how difficult it is to get anywhere,
I
even if
agree.
it is close. Like I took with my husband, went to like Home Depot a couple of times. We had to cross
Mhm.
Route 1, and I was like, I'm never doing this by myself.
No, I know. I have done that.
Yeah. And so it was kind of like, oh, this isn't great. And, realizing just how much we were missing, like we were trying to recreate the life that we had in DC almost. Like, I don't know.
But
I think we were a
well,
little
then
naive about how like difficult it was going to be to get around. And then we realized
sure.
that maybe this
Yeah, we'll
wasn't what
talk.
we
Yeah.
wanted.
But in June 2022,
Mm-hmm.
when you sold your car,
Mm-hmm.
you were still committed to living
Yes.
in College Park.
Mm-hmm.
You had not decided to give up
Yeah.
at
Correct.
that time.
Correct.
And then over the next 6 months or so,
Mm-hmm.
you came to the conclusion that even that the location is the problem. It's just not the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
even having the bikes, did having the bikes make it easier, make it harder, or opened up sort of this thing, once you had the bike, made you realize like, this is really, no, I don't want to be here.
I think it was getting the bikes, honestly, because it got me more involved in local activism around bikeability and walkability. And I became increasingly frustrated with the county. We don't have a single, well, I don't want to say we because I don't live there anymore. Prince George's County does not have a single protected bike lane in the entire county. College Park, thankfully, is going to be putting in protection on Rhode Island Ave, which is not Route 1. It's confusing, but it's not Route 1 in Prince George's County. So they're going to be changing that, and I actually lobbied city council to do that because they're putting in these bike lanes that are dangerous. And thankfully, College Park is, I think, doing a really good job. They're trying to do the right thing. They are a little bit hamstrung by, what roads they control, because most of it is state or county run. And the state and the county have no interest in making the roads safer for people outside of cars. The county has urban street design standards that it does not follow,
Sure.
that it created itself. And I got increasingly frustrated as trying to do this activism, that it just felt like the county didn't care. The pushback we would get from people at the Department of Public Works and Transportation, even like the bike planner has ideas around bicyclists need to be safer. Everybody needs to like do their part kind of thing, and not seeing the infrastructure as like a part of the problem.
You know what is interesting in what you tell me is that in part you left Prince George's County. You didn't leave College Park. It seems you left Prince George's County.
Yes.
Because you felt a lack of political efficacy. And you moved to a new jurisdiction, to your old jurisdiction, I beg your pardon, whose motto is taxation without representation.
I think it was a part of it was sitting in Prince George's County and watching Montgomery County get the state to do protected bike lanes on Old Georgetown Road. It was seeing all the bike lanes.
And it's
going
not
in.
easy, and it may not stay.
Right, for sure. But the county had to play a role in that, and Prince George's County has no interest in lobbying Maryland DOT to do anything like that.
But if people like you move out, what
Yeah.
hope is there that they will one day that government will change?
I mean, I think at a certain point you kind of have to put your own well-being first. I didn't want to be you can't be, well, I mean, I couldn't be a martyr. I couldn't say I'm going to stick it out here and like fight the good fight, because I think it was really just my quality of life didn't feel great. I felt very frustrated all the time.
Do you have a hypothesis about why Prince George's County is like this?
I think there is very much still Prince George's County was a place for Black folks to go and buy houses and be prosperous, and it's like a mecca for Black upper middle class Black folks, which is fantastic. It's a place that's been welcoming to them and has thrived because of them. And I think that's still very much the idea of riding your bike around to do things versus driving your car is not seen as, it's seen as very like urban and not something like a middle or upper middle class person should or would be doing.
Riding a bike, do you think there's a race line to this?
I think it's a class line.
Okay.
I think it's a class line. I felt, from my point of view, again, it's hard for me to say, like, I'm coming in as this like young white person into a majority Black and brown county and living in the whitest part of the county too. And I didn't come into the county being like, I'm going to come in and be like bike lanes everywhere. It was a progression while I lived there. But the thing I've noticed a lot of in the county is a lot of class-based delineation. The county's actually relatively conservative. I think people assume that because it borders DC, that we vote Democrat, that it's a very progressive place. And I would argue that it's probably leans more conservative than it appears. I'm not saying
that's
like
also a race issue, right? So it's majority Black and brown, and therefore the expectation is that the county is more progressive. But of course, in your view, it's not so much.
Yeah, I think there's a lot, again, the conservative American dream. Single family homes are the best kind of living. That's what we should be promoting. I would say there's even pushback around some of the more like progressive things they've been trying to do around, there's like a universal basic income. That's not entirely what it's called, but it's for low income folks. It's basically just cash transfers. I think DC had a similar program. And there was pushback on that. And I think there's the classism comes into it again there. So I think it is just like a little bit more conservative. I think a little bit protectionism too, right? Dan Reed just put out an article about the townhouse issue, and he talked about how Black folks are worried about being taken advantage of, and I can see how that comes into play, especially around housing, where you want the best thing and you're worried that we see this with they're blocking where you can put storage facilities, where you can put tobacco shops, etc. And I think there's a feeling that like the county's being taken advantage of, and that it's hard to get higher end retail. And again, it's like because of race. And I don't totally disagree with that. And so I can understand that sense of like wanting to like heavily control what's allowed where, in order to hopefully produce the outcome that you want. So
That is actually a depressing
it is a
thought
little
because
bit.
it will segregate.
Yeah.
It'll sort out if a better, more
Mhm.
generously say, people like you from sort of the black upper class that controls
Yeah.
Prince George's County.
And that's part of why we moved there is I wanted to be in a place that, like I said, I grew up in a in a state that's like 99% white. We had like a couple of black and Asian kids and brown and black kids in our school, and that was it. And I wanted to be in a place that was more diverse, because I think it's valuable. Um, and I just feel like that's just a better place to be, um, versus like a monoculture like I grew up in. College Park, at least demographically, is very, very diverse. It's like 40% white, 30%. I have my percentages wrong, so don't quote me on these. But it's the racial demographic makeup is very diverse, and I had neighbors of all different backgrounds, and I loved it. I think leadership in the county is very much centered around the exurban part, which is not nearly as diverse, and has a specific, again, exurban, suburban, big single family home, big yard, drive everywhere, drive to the entertainment, you know, center thing, lifestyle center. And we have the northern part and the like northern part of the county, like the inner beltway part that looks very different from that.
Let's talk about the financing that you did for your house when you bought it. You said it was less than 400,000, correct? How
Correct.
much was it? Do you remember?
We bought our house for 358,000.
Do you recall how much your monthly payment was, including taxes and things?
It was, I think, 1,900.
1,900. Tell me, I don't know this, and you didn't say you don't have children.
No, we do not.
Okay. But pets?
We have 2 cats.
At the end of 2022, you decided you had enough, that you're going to move back to DC.
Mhm.
What was the process thereafter? What did you have to do?
Sure. So, I do want to say we also looked at Silver Spring. So we were still in Northern Virginia was like too expensive.
Did you buy in DC or
Oh, we were renting.
you're renting now?
Yes.
So, okay. And so you sold your house in College Park?
Correct. Yeah, we actually got really, really lucky. We were going to put it on the market, and a friend of a friend was looking to buy in our neighborhood. So we were able to sell off market and didn't have to like go through all of that, which was
wow. Save
it was
6%.
well we had realtors, so because we had both like signed with realtors.
And you came out ahead, right? It's not like you lost any money on
Right. We did come out with some money.
that money was not enough for you to buy another place in DC. DC is too expensive.
We wanted the flexibility of renting for a bit and kind of seeing where things land. You know, our parents are getting older. We might want to move back up to New England to be closer to them. So we didn't want to rush into buying another place. And interest rates are really high. It was very hard to let go of that low interest rate.
What do you pay in rent now?
What do I pay? We are paying 2,300. We're paying $400 more per month. And we're in a 1 bedroom with a balcony. So we like way downsized as well. And not to get all like woo woo on you, but like I was doing this coaching thing, and one of my values is like simplicity, and I feel like we've just like really simplified our lives a lot, and that was also part of why I didn't want to rent out the house and keep it because it makes your taxes more complicated. It's just complication that I just didn't want in my life right now.
Elena Pitt, I wish you a lot of happiness in your new home.
Thank you so much. I am very happy here.
If you ever change your mind again, come on back.
All right, I will definitely let you know if we end up moving back to the burbs.
You escape what you fear if you hold on to what's dear. And when you breathe your last breath.
That was Elena Pitt, and before her, Paul Meyer, explaining their decisions to move. You're listening to I Hate Politics. I'm Sunil Dasgupta. What lessons can we draw from my conversation with Meyer and Pitt? There are layers upon layers we can dissect from the interviews. Certainly, we have a lot to learn about individual choices and how they relate to the overall housing market, interest rates, quality of life. The Meyer family and the Pitt family moved in opposite directions. But note an overall preference for walkability, being close to things, even when making suburban choices. Work from home may untether some families from the city center and transportation considerations, but the centripetal force of amenities remains strong, and if anything, growing stronger. Density produces critical masses for vibrant markets. On the other hand, the age of new car-centered, ex-urban subdivisions with miles of housing may be coming to an end. This is not to say that ex-urban development is not continuing, but it is really a market distortion stemming from the regulatory regime and the ensuing development cycle. If jurisdictions want to address their housing problems, they must address this truly difficult and complex issue in political economy. Second, it is worth keeping in mind what this episode does not cover. For several months now, I've been trying to do an episode on the rent strikes currently going on in Prince George's County and in Washington, D.C., but with no success. In contrast, finding Elena Pitt and Paul Meyer was easy. I asked, and they gave the interviews. This is the essence of the reporting artifact. Young, educated, white upper middle class is a well-reported group. We can extend this to political research overall, where there is also a reporting bias towards young, white, educated, and upper middle class. Elena Pitt knows this well. She lived with a sense of discomfort about her choices, about urbanism and biking in a majority-minority county whose power structure was seemingly uninterested in her choices. Given the larger context of black and brown self-determination, was her demand that Prince George's County provide protected bike lanes tenable? Paul Meyer had similar disappointments with Montgomery County when the county reopened Newell Street back to traffic in 2022 after having closed it down for 2 years during the pandemic. And that incident triggered the Meyer family to reconsider where they live. In a highly commodified and marketized economy, we are trained to think of these decisions in terms of economic choices. But both Pitt and Meyer families made politically driven choices. They are both paying more for housing. In the case of the Meyer family, they got more space. For the Pitts, they downsized in pursuit of simplicity. We say this a lot. Republicans make choices that hurt their economic self-interest. But here are two choices made by avowed Democrats that are value-based and come at some detriment to their economic interest. On a bigger canvas, you can make this distinction about Westmore's Maryland and Glenn Youngkin's Virginia. That's all for this episode. You've been listening to I Hate Politics. I am Sunil Dasgupta. Music for this episode comes from Alexandria, Virginia-based alt-rock band Jackie and the Treehorns. Steve Rubin and Pam Long on vocals, guitars, and piano. Frank Caputo on bass and synthesizer, and Brian Gibson on the drums. Their latest album, Go Get Your Ghosts, was released in 2023 and can be found on their website, JackieandTheTreehorns.com. If you want to share your music on the show or know someone else who might want to, please sign up for updates on our website, ihppod.org, or email us at ihppod@gmail.com. I hope you'll subscribe and share the podcast as we bring you stories about politics close to you and to your home. See you next time.
They ain't got no relief. Ain't got no money, they ain't got no beliefs. They can win for losing. They gotta keep moving. Give it some time and I'll be front page news. I tell you what, I've got nothing more to lose. I might be too much for you to explain. My own persistence and immortal remains.